This is a brief video showing how I would approach cleaning the data on one of these pages from the Hastings directory for 1879. This particular page is page 463. That is the actual numbering from the original directory, and that's the numbering system we should use. Because this township, Ameliasburg, is late in the directory and is actually an add-on from Prince Edward County, the numbering system by now, to get the correct PDF page, you'd have to add 6. So although the correct pagination is 463, the PDF will be 469. I will warn you that there is no editing in this video, no smoothing out of the soundtrack or anything like that. So it is what it is. The very first step is to apply the process within Excel that would divide this into columns so we could work with it. All right now, everything is in column A. So I'm going to select column A. I'm going to go to the Data tab and over to Text to Columns. We want delimited selected in all cases. Next, we want to have comma selected as well. Now, oftentimes, the tab will be selected. If it is, it needs to be deselected and comma needs to be selected. That will create a brief preview in this section, which will allow you to change the format of any of the columns you wish. I don't wish to change any of them right now, so I'm going to just click Finish. There, the work is separated into columns. To make it a bit more readable, I usually scan across, selecting all of the columns, use the Home tab, go to Format Cells, and Auto Fit Column Width. In this case, the first column becomes a little too wide because of the title. You can see here that the OCR process has already messed up the spelling of Ameliasburg, but really all I want in this first line is simply the page number that will keep me on track. So it's page 463. Looking through this, I see a lot of errors that will need to be corrected here and in the rest of the page below. My first approach to any page is to separate the data into the proper format without worrying about details like spelling and that sort of thing. So in order to do the formatting, we take a look here. Ultimately, this column here will be the post office. We have a column for concession, a column for lot, and we also have the H and F in this post office column, which really refers to the way the land is held over here, which will become part of the residence section. So let's take a quick look at how I would convert this, and hopefully I get this right. In order to do the work column by column, I need to make sure that things are in the proper column. The first column I come to that has a problem is this one right here, column number 7. The problem is junior. It's in the wrong column. That's not the fault of the OCR process. When they were producing this directory in this version and other years as well, they would offset this with a comma. All right, we're going to put the junior back with the given name. Now we want to move all of this material here one column to the left. Easiest way to do it for me is to select it all, hold down Control and hit X to cut it, click where I want to put it, and hold down Control and hit V to paste it in the new location. And we have that part at least corrected. Going down, looking again, still at format, we're coming down here. I see a mistake right there. I'm not going to correct it at this point in time, but I will eventually. Here we have a problem. This part right here should be in the post office column, the last column. So Control X again to cut, Control V to paste, and it's in the proper column. This column, though, has nothing there. If I were doing this, I would flag this column, this whole row, this row by basically highlighting it in yellow, so that when I come back to do spelling and so on, I'll check on why that particular cell is blank. Further down, again, looking just at formatting and getting things in the right column, again, we hit senior and junior. So senior can be SN, SEA, SEN. In this case, we'll convert it to the standard format we use, which is capital S, lowercase r. and the same for junior. Now, because these are both pushed out of the way by the junior and senior part, we can select that whole section. Again, Control X to cut it, click here, Control V to paste it, and we've pasted those two rows back into the proper location. Further down, again, we hit senior and junior. That will always mess up in these directories. We've typed those in and corrected those two. We'll do the same thing we just did, and we'll move everything with a Control X to cut and a Control V to paste one column to the left. Now that leaves us with still a problem. The problem is here. We have two pieces of information that should be separated in different columns, but they aren't. The easiest way for me to correct that is simply to select that piece, Control X to cut it again, click here, Control V to paste it, and now we have it. Worth noting perhaps is that this is out of line now, but we'll address that later. Here we have something of the opposite happening. Blanks in column F, in what's going to be the post office column. Now, how much of these can we move? Well, we know that we can move these two. Control X, Control V. Part can move over. Control X, Control V. But this one is in the same column, and we need to split it. So Control X on part of it, and Control V to paste that part here. Back in this part right here, we have two periods, which will affect an operation later. Carpenter, again, has things combined that shouldn't be. Control X to cut the part we want to move over here. Control V to paste it, and there we have it. Coming down here, same thing, Control X to cut, Control V to paste. Select that, select the part we want to move, Control X to cut it, Control V to paste it. Coming down this far, we have Brickman. For some reason, this A has been moved into another column by itself. We'll simply move it back. We'll select all of the part that got pushed out of the way here, Control X to cut it from its location there, Control V to paste it one column to the left, and we have that. Yeoman, second, that one's good. Merchant, there's a mistake there, but to format this, we'll simply go here, Control X, and move it one column to the left. Now, there we have that page essentially formatted properly. However, there are a number of things here we need to take a look at before we can do too much. Let's start in this column. First of all, before the name of the post office, we must have only an H or an F or nothing. Here, for example, we have an LI. That LI is a corruption by the OCR process and probably the printing on the original page of H. This is Albury. I noticed that this page did have a number of errors introduced by the printing of the page. I think they were printing this page when they were running out of ink. Ameliasburg has a 1. In this column, that 1 always signifies an F, and it will throughout the directory. LA is going to be, I would bet money, an H. And right below it, the 1 is going to be an F. Now, there's a way to check that in a minute to see if it's correct. Before I move too much around, I'm going to go to column E, which will be the lot column, and just run down that and see if we have any issues that jump off the page at me. I don't see any necessarily. Coming down D, there will be some here, for example, in this cell. LET is always first. The numeral 1 and the S for the first concession, and that's a fairly frequent error. There's another one. And another one. Two in a row. And as someone once showed me or told me, you can do this and copy down. That's interesting right there. That is not 2 commas. I'd have to check codes to see what actual character that was, but it doesn't help to have it there. So I'm going to take it out. Now, another problem here is not having a period after CON. Later on, we'll be using CON to key off of. This is a trick that you might or might not want to use. By the way, there's another one. EON for CON. That probably, I'd be surprised if that only occurs once in this column. Maybe it does. I've seen columns where on a particular page it might occur 3 or 4 times. It also will throw you off. If you need a period after an expression or a word, and you have some that have it and some that don't, one way to get around that is to use find and replace. Let's say, for example, we've got this column selected, and that is critical. You must select the column first so it doesn't happen anywhere else on the spreadsheet. You have CON and a period. No. Let's do CON without a period. And let's say we're going to replace that with CON and a period. So every time there's CON, it's going to substitute in CON period. Now, there will be an interesting side effect of this. We'll just see what happens. 57 replacements. Now, what's happened is in many of these cases, you've got a double period. Okay, but in the ones that had no period, they now have a single period. So what you want to do here now is to eliminate the double period. You can do that. Search for a double period and replace it with a single period. You had 55. Okay? Now, every one of the CONs in this column will have a single period after it. And that becomes important later on in what we're going to do. It looks to me as if in columns A, B, and C, that is surnames, given names, and occupations, we have the information in the correct spot. Now we're going to look at what we can do with this. We need to break off, I'll start from the right. We need to break off the H and the F in this column. To do that, I'm going to select the whole column, right-click, and hit Insert. I want to insert a column into which I can put the H and the F. I'm going to do it again, and this column needs to be a little bit longer, a little bit wider at least. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull out the leftmost 2 characters in column H. I'm going to use the function equals left. That is one of the functions in Excel and may well be in other spreadsheet programs like Google Sheets. So it's left, it's H1, I'll start with that one, H1, comma, 2. Now, it produced nothing here because there's nothing over here. But let's try the first few here. We're going to go fill down. It's only giving us the F, but no period. That's because there's a leading space here. One way to get around this, in my case at least, and someone else's too, is to, let me take these guys out here for a second so there's nothing here. So these are blank, good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to the home space. I'm going to go to my macros, and I have a macro called trimmer. Trimmer will trim 1,000 rows to column L. So it should trim everything we've got here. I'll run that. And now everything is trimmed. What does that mean? It means it should have taken out the leading spaces, the trailing spaces, and any extra spaces in between. For example, if we had 5 spaces between part and lot. I'm going to run it again just to be sure we got it to work. Sometimes it has to run twice. It looks to me now that everything has trimmed properly. Now, I'm going to try this operation again to take the H and the F out, probably with better success. Equals left, bracket, G1 for 2 spaces. Let's see if that works. We'll go to home and fill down. And now we have the H period or the F period where we need it. Now, since we know the formula here works, we're going to use it for the entire page. It's also a good idea to know the length of the spreadsheet you're working with, because you can do the whole column. 1 page, as we will here, but you could also do 8 or 10 pages like I am for the first half of Ameliasburg. I'm going to go down and see where we stop with this. Let's come back up. That's the trimmer setting for 1,000. We go to 59. That's important to know. So whatever I want to do here, I go to 59. There, I'm sitting where the formula started. I want to select everything down to 59. I could just drag it down, which isn't bad for 1 page, but it gets a bit tedious when you've got 20 pages. So what I'm going to do is, leaving that there, I'm going to come over to this section of the spreadsheet and set it for F. And what was that? 49, 59? Let's say 59. That's more than enough. I'm going to hold down the Shift key and hit Enter. And it selects all of those. So I have this selection down here. If I go fill down, it will do the entire column for me. Bear in mind, this is 1 page, would do the same for 20 pages or 100 pages. So I have these guys right here split off from this. That's not good enough, because what they have here is just the formula that produces it. What we need to do is we need to select these, copy them, Control C for copy, bring them over to here, for example, and we want to, in the first cell, right-click, paste special, values. Now, what's the difference between these 2 columns? They look identical to the I. The difference is, here, you've got the formula. Here, you've got the actual character. That's what you want. That's why you paste special values. The value is the character, not the formula. We'll select this and we'll delete this column. Now we have the H and the F isolated. We're going to convert those into something we're going to use in our expression later. So let's select this column. We're going to use Find and Replace, and we're going to use it to change what is on the screen. H period. We're going to change those. H stands for householder. I hate to admit to it, but I don't know the exact thinking from the 1880s as to what a householder would be. Householder on. If I click replace all, every one of the H's here will become householder on. 26. Roughly half. F period stands for freeholder on, freeholder. Replace all, 31. So not quite half and half. Now let's go down the page and see if we've missed any. Oftentimes you do. Albury didn't have one. We'll see why later. We'll take that out. Going on further down, that was the only one. So for some reason, probably because it wasn't in the original document, we don't know if this person is a freeholder or if Ezra is a householder. Okay, so we've done that. We've set this one up. That's good enough for right now. Now we want to take out the H and the F from this column. We can do it using the same routine slightly differently. Find and replace. Right? Coming up, only going to do it to this column. We want to find F, let's say, for example, F period, but we want to replace it with nothing. 31. We want to find H period. Now, this is why having the period there is a good idea, because if we just did a find H, we'd be hitting things possibly in some of these other terms here. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if H appears anywhere here or if F would, but having the period there helps to specify what we're doing. Let's say replace, and there we've removed the H and the F from this column. At this point, if I'm thinking about what I'm doing, I probably should go back to my home position, go to Developer tab at the top, go to Macros, and do my trimmer again to trim that column. And you can see how there's no leading spaces, and there won't be any trailing spaces either. At this point in time, we could take out the periods here because we're done with the periods in this column. Let's go here, go to our Home tab up top, find and select Replace. You saw this a minute ago. We're going to find, if you will, all the periods, and we're going to remove them all. 55, that was almost every one. Let's go through and see if there's any we've missed. I don't see any periods there at all. What we want to do now is convert this to an expression that explains what it is. This is, after all, the post office column. We could have the headings up there or not. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a formula or a function again to create that. We're going to say equals, and we're going to use a function that puts different things together into a single expression. It's called concat. We're going to concat whatever is in column F with the expression post office. So we're going to go F1, comma. Now let's see, I just trimmed these. So we may need a space in between the expressions. So after F1, Rednersville, we'll do a space. To do that, we do a quote, space bar, quote, comma. And then because we're doing a word or a term here, we'll do quote again, post office, and then the bracket. Now let's see if that works for us. Well, we got post office there, but then again, there was nothing in column F. Let's see how it worked down here. Fill down. We look closely for spacing, and it looks like we're okay. It looks like that function will work. So we're going to do our trick again where we select the entire column and fill it down. We go there, we go over to here, we want to go to G. We know it's 59 rows in the column. Hold down the Shift key, hit Enter. That is all selected. Come here and fill down. Now, we don't need this, although we will be putting that up there. What have we got here? I'm going to put that back for a minute. What have we got here? We've got the function, the formula that produced the result, right? That's not good enough. We need the actual values. So we'll copy that whole column, and maybe we can just put it over here for the moment. That's probably not quite wide enough. Let's go there. And we're going to go right click, left click on paste special, and values. The little moving running ants, or whatever they call them, crawling ants, suggest that it's still selected, so I should be able to go OK and paste it over there. Now I like to do a check here to make sure that some of these match up. Go down to one, looks good there, there, Reddersville there, Albury there, Consicon. I think we're okay. Difference between these two columns again, this is the formula. It's done its job, time to go. This one is the actual value. We want to keep that. So we can select this column by clicking there above the column, right-clicking, left-clicking delete, and that column disappears. Now, this is post office, and then we can leave that title up there. That's good enough for the moment. At this point in time, I can see that there's a space in between there, which we created. There we go. Now, post office is ready to go. Do we need this column anymore? Well, that information is embodied over here, isn't it? So this column could go too. So there's our post office. Now, the next step that I would do is to combine this and this to produce a residence notation. So let's see how we do that. I'm going to insert a column. Let's use the function this time, concat again. We want to use column E and then column D. So we'll say E1. Now this has been trimmed, so we need a space probably. And then we need D1. And let's see what this gives us. Won't give us anything in that first row for that first record, but it might here. Let's go down. So householder on part of lot 75, first concession. We want to select this entire column and copy that function down. We'll go over here to F59, hold down Shift, hit Enter. It's all selected. Click here, click Fill Down, and we have it. Now remember, these are the formulas. We want the actual values. So we're going to select that column, copy it, give ourselves some room here, go to the very top, right-click, paste special, values, and OK. And from the look of it, we'll see if they match. Freeholder, householder, freeholder, householder, householder, freeholder. I'd say they match. And we'll select this column of formulas and right-click and delete. So what do we have so far? We have, I think I will actually insert one row here. Right-click and insert that row selected. Surname, given name, occupation, we don't need this column anymore because we have that information over here. Delete that column. Now, let's make sure that we have all of the columns we need here. We need surname, given names, occupation, residence, and after residence, we need municipality. So I'm just going to select this, right-click, insert a column. Municipality. The municipality will be the same for all of them. It will be Ameliasburg Township. Ameliasburg Township. We want to copy that down for this entire page. Fill down. So we have now surname, given name, occupation, residence, municipality, post office, and over here we'll have the page. And the page comes from over here on the left, 463. I like those on the left-hand side, so I'll use the alignment tool, 463. Without getting fancy, because I'm only doing one page, I'll simply drag it down to the bottom. And again, fill down. Now, I haven't checked any of the spelling in any of these. I know there are errors over here in a few cases. We fixed up a few things, but that essentially is how I would set up the formatting of the page. This page, or this column, pardon me, I think is good. I think this column is good. I think this column is good. The one column that's not good is this one right here, and I just realized I did not fully expand on the word concession, but there's a good chance that I could do that now. Shall I try? Sure. So we're going to select that, so it only happens on this column. We're going to find and select, find and replace at least. We want to find, this should be interesting actually. We want to find con, period. Oops, not uppercase O because we'll be case sensitive here. Con, and we want to create concession. Let's see what happens. Now, concession. Now, to be honest, there was one thing I forgot here. I would like to put in, and I would do it again if I were doing it, a hyphen between the lots and the concessions. This is fine. The information is correct. There's no question about that. But I think the hyphen makes it a little more readable. Okay, sorry, it's as long as it is. It's over 30 minutes. It does take over 30 minutes to do one of these pages. Anyway, I hope that's some use to you. Thanks.